Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashrothi, and this is the monthly economic report for April YC124 or 2022. All right, so every month we get a monthly economic report, and every month I look at it and pretend like I know anything about economics for at least a few minutes. And then it goes up on YouTube's, and there's a whole playlist of them, so we can go back and laugh at my old assumptions. No, basically I have multiple months economic reports that I can go back to review if we need to. But let's just see if we can figure out anything based on the stats. So first of all, production versus destruction. We see that we're having a continued downturn in production. So there is basically production had suppressed around November because everybody was getting ready for the end of scarcity, likely. And then after January, we see climate, getting at the top at February, mid-February, it starts to arc back down again. I think that you would expect to see very low production right now, given the fact that we have been sitting here for over a month or so, knowing that we're going to get a massive industry change to some of the most expensive things in the game. So I would not be surprised if there was much less development, production right now. However, one of the things that I find really interesting is that mining is now down at, I believe, below levels that we've seen even before, like the mining changes and stuff, which is kind of odd. Could be considered worrying. Although with this big of a spike down, it makes me wonder whether or not there's an issue with the stats or something like that. With destruction remaining relatively stable, and as we've shown, like destruction has stayed between 1 to 1.5 trillion for like the history of EVE Online, outside of like spikes, which I think this is one of the biggest anomalies. So it's towards the lower bound of where it should be, but it's not even like here. It dipped below 1 trillion. If I said 1 billion before, I meant 1 trillion. I'd like to see that come back up. It has come up a little bit, but either way. Net imports and exports, destruction, mining value, exports. I wish that this was like I could click on the tops here to sort, but Pochvin has 1.4 trillion destroyed, making it more destruction than the Citadel, which is pretty good. The Forge is Jita. Citadel's right next to the Forge. The highest... Wait a minute. There it is. No. Does that mean Pochvin? Pochvin was the #1 source of destruction outside of the Citadel, or sorry, outside of Jita last month. That's pretty wild. The Citadel is Udama. No, it's been like 4th, somewhere between 4th and 7th. And it's usually about the same number, so I wouldn't necessarily see this as a great thing. This didn't happen because Pochvin went up. This happened because none of the nullsec regions right now are hot enough to make their region take over that amount. Some people say that this is a negative thing. Pochvin is a great place. People are using it. We see... I'm curious, though. 1.4. It's always been very low, but let's see if it's actually increasing or anything. 1.04. Wait, 1.04. 1.04. So yeah, no, not really. Let's check the Pochvin kill board. As far as exports go, any big standouts? I think those are kind of to be expected. What's in Lone Trek? There's something in Lone Trek that makes it into a thing. Is that Heck and Wren's right there? Or Hematar? I don't know. As far as NPC bounties go, you can see 1.6 trillion in Delve and Peregrine Falls, but 2.8 trillion in Veil of the Silent. Hold on a second. That is an incredible amount. So Veil of the Silent, which is like third highest destruction after Citadel and Forge, also has very nearly twice, basically any other two regions worth of ratting combined. That is Frat Go Burr. Yeah, no kidding, man. Holy snack. That is crazy. Thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole, TC Online. All right. Production. Delve with 12.7 trillion. And the Forge with 18 trillion. So the Forge is Citadel, or is Jita. So this is like most of Nahisek's production, and Delve is nearly rivaling it. So, all you guys that thought you were going to knock the Imperium down a peg, they're rebuilding, and they appear to be rebuilding faster than anybody else. So that might be worth noting. Veil of the Silent, though, you still see this giant burr with almost 10 trillion, which makes the two of them stand out way and above anywhere else. We'll see how that changes. So the thing is that, especially in this last month, it was not a good idea to produce battleships and capital ships, which meant that the only people that were the people that were willing to do it, in spite of the fact that it wasn't necessarily the most economically efficient thing to do. It was better to wait a month. But there was a bunch of people that didn't want to wait a month or couldn't wait a month and was willing to spend 2 to 3 times as much. So what we see is the largest empires that have the most amount of money to just solve problems by throwing ISK at it are the ones that are still producing at massive quantities the month before the major industry change makes it so that a lot of this stuff is cheaper. So I would be very interested to see how this goes into next month production for that reason. As far as March, it looks like it did go down, though. It was down by 2 trillion. And although we did notice that like overall production was also down. Yeah, Jita is also down. All right, well, that's cool. Total destroyed value by region. We kind of looked at that. Asteroid ore mined by region. Interestingly enough, so Galente is number 1, Mimitar number 2, then Caldari. Did we ever figure out what's in Lone Trek? Is it Heck? No, it's not Metropolis. Domain is Amar. Delve is all the way down below like all of the major empire area. There's a lot of mining going on in High-Sec. How does that compare to last month? And then we can like check December or something like that. Yeah, okay, it's similar. November's fine. Unless they don't have the stat in November. All right, fair enough. Did I skip it? There it is. Oh, yeah. Hold on. No, there it is right there. So yeah, it's kind of been the same lineup the whole time. Lone Trek and the Forge swapped. And Tash Murkon overtook Delve. That's true. It is Asteroid Ore, which skews strongly towards HiSec. Potentially. Although I assume that null belts are hoovered as well. Is this the one that's next? Oopsies. Yeah. Asteroid Ore by volume, Asteroid Ore mined by time. So yeah, we see this big spike in March, and then this fall off into April, which, hold on, there's actually a graph that I need. Eve offline. We're going to pull up the worst stat in the game. Dadao. Thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole with Eve Online. I don't like the PCU as a stat, but we're just going to see whether or not things map. So, we actually don't see too much of a suppression recently. So, I wouldn't necessarily account for, January, February. Well, no, because there's March, into March. Into March. Yeah. So some of this can be attributed. In fact, this big cutoff maps to this fall off here as you go from February into March. So there's that to think about, I guess. I also noticed that, like, over time, the wormhole mining continues to become better. I assume as more and more wormholes get taken over or people switch to it, people realize it's a good way to do things, etc., etc. Next, gas volume by region. Let's pull this up too, just so we can not confuse ourselves too much. Oh, wow. Okay, so Veil of the Silent was number 1, but has gone to number 3. And as we noted before, Veil of the Silent is the place that's ratting so much and producing a lot. So once again, I guess, yeah, Fraternity. But you can see that their gas mined went down, at least in position. Oh no, everything went up. Everything went up because Veil of the Silent was at like 17 and now is just about where it was. It's just Delve and Iridia has now spiked up above it. Yeah, Veil is about the same. The other two positions just jumped up. Delve went from below 15 million to scraping at 20 million. Frat is definitely something to keep an eye on. This has been something that kind of keeps coming up, that like the last few wars weren't very costly to them, and they've been extremely dedicated to building themselves up. So while they are one of the youngest organizations at that scale, they also are rapidly gaining their position. And I'm not sure if people aren't doing anything about it because they're still underestimating them, or if because they are trying to do stuff about them, or if like the beast is too big at this point. They got to figure out what to do. I don't know. I'm not that good at the null politics stuff. Gas mined over time. I mean, it's been basically steady since for all of March and through April. I would have expected to see a bigger increase. Well, I guess if you can, well, the problem is that you see this increase in gas mine, but it's actually a decrease. This decrease came from needing to get all new equipment to be able to mine gas. So you see this like drop off, and then it went at level again. I guess it is a little bit higher than it was before. But overall, it doesn't appear as if more gas is being mined than before. That said, a lot of the things that have been bottlenecked that needed the gas for, like the battleships and stuff, and the faction stuff, obviously those have become a lot more efficient. So you're going to be able to build more doodads for the same amount of gas. Ice by region. Forge, Metropolis, Evershort, Delve. Delve has fallen a point, but Vale. Hold on. Yeah, that's a whole different scale again. Metropolis and the Forge has gone way up. Vale. Wait, hold on. Oh, they've totally. Every shore is the one that jumped up. Every shore went from 1.7 to 1.8, 1.9. But I mean, since they were so close, that's enough to go from 5th place to 3rd place. Timers came back, so Ali spells can again are again on a timer. Right, yeah. There was a period of time where there was a lot of like no ice spawning. So that's this graph, right? So I want to say, oh man, I can't remember why this second dip happened. Wasn't this first dip in December? Yeah, the December one is when there was nothing spawning, right? Hey, what's up, a gamer girls or a gamer's girl? And this downtrend at the end, we've seen it just a general downtrend in each one for the last month. Which of course kind of makes sense given the fact that there's been let's just go with a cool atmosphere amongst the player base, like not chill, but cold. Anyway, where are we? That's ice. We just did ice. Moon ore. Wow. Ooh. Oh. Okay. So Veil of the Silent went from 4.1 or so, 4.2 in March, to 5.4 in April. That's a lot of moons coming online. That's by volume. And Delve fell below domain. Domain stayed the same. Delve went from just over 5 billion to just over 3 billion. Wonder why that is. Why would Delve have its moon ore volume cut in half, or by a third? That's 4. Hold on. So 3.5. This is almost 4. This is over 5. Okay, so March was just particularly high for them. But then April's also particularly low. Interesting. So we see this. What I assume this means is that they have moon pops that land in such a way that more moons pop during one month versus the other month in its tracking. Even if they were on deployment, I would assume that they're mining their moons. Even if they're I'll say it again. Even if they're deployed, I can't imagine that they wouldn't be mining their moons. Wow. Thank you guys. Because vets are pulling out. Yeah, because vets are pulling out their moon stage. Oh, that's right. Because like a lot of Imperium have their own like personal moons, so it's probably personal moons being shut down. That makes sense. Yeah. So we can see that it went up, and then we can see that April downturn. But that also means that like a fair chunk of this downturn. So look at this. Everything else is kind of flat. Nullsec is the thing that had the downturn. So you can see that the vast majority of reduced moon mining that's happening right now is happening in Nullsec. Huh. Who's the go-to for Sancha information? I don't know if I know any like hardcore Sancha people right now. I guess it really depends on which aspect. Roleplay as primary might be good. All right, so Malapes had the largest net exports. Pochfin, 23 trillion in imports, 19 trillion in exports. How does that compare to last time? This is February. March. $22 and $21 is now $23 and $19. So exporting less, importing more. Good. That means more shit's blowing up. I will warn you though, there's a lot of answers about Sancha that just gets resulted with we're not sure for we don't know for sure, but here's what we think. What am I looking for? Sinks and faucets. So commodity market goes from 36 trillion to 41 trillion. So more commodities turned in April. What event was happening? The hunt. People like the hunt. Paid out well. Bounties went from 21 to 25. That seems good-ish. I mean, that's what, a 20% increase in ratting. ESS main bank payouts. Oh, this is a good comparison. So auto pay went from 9.7 to 11. So we can by that we can tell that the majority of this increase in bounty ratting happened in nullsec. Sancha incursions at 12 and 10, 11 and 11. Project discovery is actually down a bit. Looks like agent missions are basically the same. LP store, more people are buying stuff for LP because there's a higher LP store funnel. Not much else to pull out, probably. I'm interested in 1.1 to 658. 1.3 to 548. That'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. These structure pieces. Like, because, like, the cores. I assume. Yeah, because this is people selling the core. And these are people buying cores. So a lot more people bought cores than sold cores in March. Less people, more cores were sold, less cores were bought in April. Well, it also could suggest that a lot more people swapped from mining to ratting, since we also see a suppressed mining at the same time. If ratting's cool again. Sleeper components are on the right. Wow. That might be worth looking into. Hold on. Why is there so much sleeper components? I don't know. No. Bounties didn't drop this month. It's just, so it's down here. See this yellow? See how it's been scooping up? This big jump? Up, like, it was already higher, but it like kind of dropped down, but then jumped all the way back up again. Wormhole ratting doesn't have... No. Nullsec ratting increased. You can tell because ESS bounty payouts went up. BEB? You're right. This is just ESS payouts. And then rogue drone analysis data. Look at that. That's actually pretty good. Oh yeah, there is no actual like raw bounty. This is just commodities. I see what you're saying. Got it. The Abyss looks still very popular. It'll be interesting to see how the industry changes affect the value of Abyss. It should make Abyss more valuable as we need the materials more again because people are going to be building them. And this Overseer Persa effect is the Garistus event. This is the Valentine's Day event. So this would suggest that more people did the Garistus event, but the Garistus event also had other things to turn in that wasn't... Yeah, see? They also have these spikes, but that also implies that it looks like the Valentine's Day event was more popular than the Garistus event. And That's a really interesting correspondence. I don't know if that's true, but like if I was just to look at this graph like in complete, like devoid of any other information, it really does look like everybody stopped ratting and started doing the hunt, or the Valentine's Day event, which isn't that traditionally in wormhole space, right? The Valentine's Day event, the better sites were in wormhole space. So that would actually kind of make sense, right? All the wormholers run the really good, high valued, I keep wanting to say from Wormholes with Love, but it's not. It's Guardians Gala sites, right? The VIP sites. Weren't those in wormhole space? I think they were. Yeah. I do like the fact that if you can see that there is an uptick in rogue analysis beacons, we got to watch this. With the increase in the value of, with the decrease in the value of capitals, and therefore the increased availability of dreadnoughts and the decreased risk of using dreadnoughts, I assume that this rogue drone analysis data thing is going to go up more. Anything else? Sinks over time. Sinks and faucets over time. Here we go. Here we go. This is the bounties. So yeah, we can see... You guys can't. We can see in April. So bounties jump back up. And then quickly drop off again. March. We see this big suppression in March. With no corresponding event in the commodities. So this event in March has to have been one of the deployments. It was a patch. That was the bounty BRM reset, which lifted the BRM before it tanked back down. Oh, I see. So you're saying it was going up, like this was normal. Hold on. Yeah. Bounty prizes include ESS auto pays. We see this big drop off, and then it recovered a little bit, and it got a little bit better. And then we see, what is the dark blue line? Oh, never mind. It says right there. Commodities. So that's that whole cluster there. So that is that spike, which is for Frostline event, right? Frostline and Doctor Who, somewhere in there. So that makes sense. And then yeah, there's this drop off, or like it's kind of going up, and then it falls off again, but then it spikes way up. That's the bounty reset, you said, and now it's been dropping back down again. That pretty much explains it. That describes it. Although it does. The question is, does that explain all of the increases that we've seen in the ratting incomes, right? So have we not seen more ratting, but that spike is why we saw higher values in like the payouts and stuff. It's possible. I won't say Eve is dying, but nullsec is definitely hurting. I will agree with that for sure. Anything else? Broker's fee, LP store, transaction tax, blah, blah, blah. Money supply. fine. It's good. I mean, dare I say it almost looks like it's starting to even out, which isn't necessarily terrible. Arguably, you could consider it a good thing. Velocity of ISK, on the other hand, is still low, but let's just hope that this trend continues, right? Like, I mean, we've had these upward trends before, and they just fall back down again. So we'll have to see. It definitely looks like it was going down. We can agree that it looks like it was trending down until about July. And it looks like it's gotten a lot more even within the last year. So this last year, the velocity of ISK has been a lot more stable. And the year before, the couple years before that, basically since 2018, we've seen this slow decline in the velocity of ISK. And then this fall off here, is that blackout? Blackout or just after blackout? Yeah, that's blackout, I think. Yep. Interesting. And then economic indices with the full history. Material price index is remaining strong. Really strong, which is good. Secondary producer, stable. Primary production producers, whatever. Primary producer price index. I'm not sure what primary producer is yet, or off the top of my head, but it looks like it is falling. And the consumer price index remains pretty stable. Nifty. That is a pretty big fall off the cliff, though. I mean, we've seen it before in 2007, but 2022 it's gone from 107 to 84, 85. Decomposition of index never means anything to me. I think that that's actually where we can see the different price indexes. So let's go ahead and at least see if we can find the primary producers. Red is so a lot of that fall off has come from reactionables. Raw moon materials, processed moon material. Yeah, a lot of it has come from raw moon materials. That makes a lot of sense. R4 moon goo went from relatively R4 moon goo shot up. You can see like these three, this chunk of time right here, and even this one, like R4 moon goo was increasing in value because it suddenly was necessary for all kinds of things. But now, the things that are required in are now way more efficient, and B, people have gotten their moons calibrated, and therefore there's more of it, and therefore the stuff that you build with it has gone down in value. That makes sense. That tracks. ESS figures by region. OASA. Veil of the Silent has 32 billion ISK worth of main bank thefts and 4 trillion in reserve bank. Reserve bank, I don't even count. PPI drop is the thing I don't like with the other production ends. But so again, that's the price index. So that's the value of the stuff in that category, which, as I'm pointing out, the value of that stuff went down because it had a big spike, and then we've been recovering from that and bringing it back down ever since. Whalegasm, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole at Achieve Online. This is total amount in reserve banks. Reserve banks theft. Tracking. So Owasso has pulled the most out of their reserve bank, with Veil of the Silent next. Veil of the Silent has had 32 billion in main bank thefts. That's people coming in and stealing their stuff. Main bank is the one I care about the most. So, to those in the Imperium complaining, apparently you've had less than half of the main bank. Well, no, just over a half of the amount of theft that Veil of the Silent has. And in fact, lower than a lot of places. Innsmother, Tenal, because this is, Delve is 17. So, Innsmother, Tenal, Branch, Tribute, no, is that Geminate? Geminate, I was off by one. Fountain, Outer Passage, all these places, tons of theft. Faith of Bolus, not so much theft. Cloud Ring, nobody goes to. So, why would there be theft? Largest main bank theft. 653 million in T5Z. Down there. What's HTAC 5? HTAC 5. Number 6. Oh, it's because HTAC 5 is on here like so many times. Got it. Well, the keys aren't necessarily too hard to come by. Well, the sites are very hard to do. Very limited number of people are willing to do them. How much do you want to bet that's the real reason why they never banned cable? Because they need somebody to be running the thing to be providing ESS keys. I'm kidding, by the way. Golly. Largest reserve bank thefts. I continue to care less about reserve bank thefts. But LQQH? Cable Utu. I believe he was one of the people that were doing it a lot. I see. So this is... Wait. So this area, YTAX 77, just has a lot of thefts. Is that... Yeah, that must be the way it is. This one doesn't seem... Like, I really wish that... I feel like this graph could still be more clear. Maybe even put like little rings to indicate how many different entries are done, because like there's the single largest, but then there's the collective largest, and it'd be nice to know how many. Oh, wait, I'm silly. It says so right here. I get it now. Yeah, so G96R TAC F is on the largest list 5 times. I get it. All right, well, that's about it for this month's economic report. It does look like we are having a general trend downward across the board, with obviously fraternity making a lot of effort. And by across the board, there are, like, we're seeing more sleeper components in the rogue analysis beacons. Really, it's going to be hard to say. These charts are, I feel like I almost say this every month for something, but next month is going to be extremely interesting, because that's when we'll see how much, well, we'll start to see this month, next month and the month after will be extremely interesting, because then we'll see how the capital changes and stuff. Actually, probably not even this next month. It would be the month after, because I imagine that like capitals take like a week to build, even under the best of conditions, half a week to a week. That's like if you build everything at the same time, all of the components. So it'll probably be another week or two at least before we start seeing a reasonable output of capitals again, perhaps, because they couldn't start the builds until Tuesday. So there is enough room. Well, they just made it so the same amount of gas is making a ton more components. So you're going to be able to make like 3 times as many capitals with the same amount of gas or more. We went over all of those changes the other day. I actually just put it out on YouTube, the Siege Green breakdown, where we talk about all of the different industry changes and what they mean. All right. Well, in that case, that is about it for the economic report. I've been Ash Rothi, the voice of New Eden. I'd really like to thank you all for checking this out. And I especially would like to thank my patrons, including BlackRoseNoble, Serenalin, Syliana Vel'ash, Nephilim, Grendel, MidnightSpaceMonkey, Talking in Stations, and Ebo1337 and Elange, my Immortal patrons. Thank you all very much. If you are watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Throw out a comment about your predictions for next month and the month after. Whether or not we're going to see more rogue drone beacons. Are we going to see higher ratting? Are we going to see lower ratting? Are we going to see people mining because there are things to build? Are we going to see changes in the price indexes as the markets react to the changes in our industry and development processes? I guess we'll all find out together. But until next time, I have been Ash Rothi, the voice of New Eden. And until then, I'll see you in space.